Welcome to the Country Data Files, the show where we explore a historical country. In this video, we will randomly pull a card out of this box to decide what our video will be about. And we are doing Denmark. Denmark is a country in Europe. It still owns Greenland. From the 8th to the 11th century, there were many Scandinavian Norsemen, also known as Vikings, that raided and traded with many European countries. There were many Danish Vikings that came from Denmark.
The Vikings were mean, nasty fellows. They were big, built, and knew how to fight, and taught each other how to fight, had no remorse, had no problem with taking over other territories. They would come in and wipe out a whole tribe, take all the women with them. They did a lot of trade all over the different countries in Europe. They had some of the greatest boats you've ever seen. They had bows on both ends. They could go forward or reverse. They could use sails to use the wind in the ocean, in the bays. They had oars that they could use when there was no wind. Anywhere they needed to go. They could go up rivers. They could go into water that was only a meter deep, and the same boat could cross an ocean. Absolutely fabulous. These guys had it together.
The Vikings had a religion that is known today as Norse mythology. Today, many stories in popular culture are influenced by Norse gods.
Gamle norske var forløber for det sprog, danskeren er i øjeblikket brugt i Danmark.
During the early Middle Ages, several small, short-lived kingdoms formed. From 1016 to 1035, the anglo-scandinavian empire, also known as the North Sea Empire, formed. The Vikings from Scandinavia controlled England. But in 1035, England broke away from Danish control. The Vikings still tried to maintain control of England, but in 1066, England defeated them in the Battle of Stamford Bridge. After England got independence, there was chaos in Denmark. And after 1035, the North Sea Empire fell apart. After that, King Harald Hardrada wanted to take over Denmark because he was the king of Norway. So, from 1048 to 1064, Norway tried to invade Denmark. Centuries later, in 1397, all of Scandinavia united to form the Kalmar Union. The countries in Scandinavia were still separate states, similar to the Soviet Union. From 1426 to 1435, all of the Kalmar Union, including Denmark, were fighting in the dano-hanseatic war. The war was over trade. King Eric of Pomerania opened the Baltic trade routes and put a toll on foreign ships passing Øresund. The war ended with an armistice, and the two sides agreed to accept trade competition. In the year 1500, the Middle Ages ended and the early modern era began. And then, in the early 16th century, Sweden wanted independence. After Denmark was defeated by the Swedish separatists, the Dano-Swedish War began. It went from 1501 to 1512. The Kalmar Union won the war, and they kept the Union alive for 9 more years. In 1521, the Swedish War of Liberation started, and the rebellion allied with Lubeck. Lubeck had a very powerful fleet. The rebellion won, and the Kalmar Union fell apart, but Norway and Denmark stayed together until 1814. And together they owned Greenland and Iceland. The Kalmar Union was over 3 million kilometers squared. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if there's a country you want to see a video about, please ask us to make a video about that country in your comments. And stay tuned for part 2 of Danish history.